Things in this packed, undulating city this week are choreographed by the minute, but something that happened at the Kennedy Center this afternoon was anything but planned. Chroniclers of the Obama-Clinton rivalry and courtship of last year and predictors of their relationship ahead reeling tonight after a secret revealed by Dr. Jill Biden at today's taping of Oprah. You heard me. The secret that Jill's husband had a choice of the vice presidency or Secretary of State. In a statement after the show taping today, Biden's spokesperson said, quote, President-elect Obama offered Vice President-elect Biden one job only to be his running mate. Perhaps that is literally true, but is that your interpretation of what the Bidens had to say? This is the clip from today's Oprah. See if it does not sound like Joe confirms what Jill had to say. The whole exchange coming after Ms. Winfrey asked them why Mr. Biden had just said that being vice president would be good for his family.
Because I think Joe had the choice to be Secretary of State or Vice President. And I said, Joe, no. Well, okay, he did. So,
You said Joe? Go. It's okay.
Well, you guys right. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I said, Joe, if you're Secretary of State, you'll be away. We'll never see you. You know, I'll see you at a state dinner once in a while.
Yeah.
But I said, if you're vice president, the entire family, because they work so hard for the election, can be involved. They can come to our home. They can go to events. They can be with us all the time. And that's what's important to us.
Oops. Let's turn now to Chris Hayes, Washington editor of The Nation magazine and frequent watcher of Oprah. Thanks for your time tonight, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.
I'm told you do a great impression of Hillary Clinton watching today's episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show.
Yeah, I mean, that was awkward, wasn't it? You could see that immediately in the crowd they realized that something had been uttered that shouldn't have been uttered. And, you know, who knows what the actual truth of the matter is, but the fact of the matter is this is going to be one of these things that is going to kind of be an unfolding subplot, for better or for worse, throughout the duration of the administration, I think.
Is there middle ground between the official statement and the Jill Biden account? I mean, could they both be right? He was really only offered the one job?
Well, it's very hard to divine what goes on in those conversations. I think that they are probably choreographed quite precisely, and I think that it's possible that in the strictest sense he was only offered one job. It also seems clear from what Dr. Biden said that perhaps there's a conversation about another position currently occupied by someone else. So, yeah, I think there could be a middle ground. I mean, it's really always very difficult to know what happens. In the conversations that are the hardest to crack in Washington are the ones that happen between two principals, like a conversation between Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and it's very hard to know exactly what gets said in them.
What determines, do you think, whether this gets remembered as a footnote to history or as some sort of harbinger of the future?
Well, what determines is the degree of internal acrimony, particularly over foreign policy. And that is something that, obviously, one of the overriding narratives of the Bush administration was a war within the personnel over things like Iraq, preemptive war, the war on terror, people who are more or less favorably disposed to a more or less aggressive imperial policy. If that sort of thing reinscribes itself in the Obama administration with different wings jockeying over the direction of the foreign policy, then this is going to be something that's going to play out and we are going to remember.
Getting back to Senator Clinton and watching this, do you suppose that description of Secretary of State that Dr. Biden gave might be a little daunting to hear? You're never home, you're out of the country, you're never around. It certainly didn't portray Secretary of State as a job anybody would voluntarily accept.
It is a really tough job. I mean, there is no question about it. I think lonely in a lot of respects as well because of all the travel. But look, I mean, if there's anyone who's sort of equipped for that kind of undertaking, it's most likely, I guess, former Senator Hillary Clinton, who obviously has lived a life of tremendous activity and travel already. So I don't think that it's going to be really a problem for her over the next few years.
Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Happy VW Day. That'd be Victory in Washington.
Yeah, you too, Keith, and say hi to everyone down there for me.